can probably still get about 90 catches. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for
How
sure.
about you, Adam? What are your thoughts on Jeremy Maclin this season?
Meh.
Meh.
Wow. That's some crack analysis there, Adam. Thank you for your input, and I appreciate you being a part of the show. Welcome, sleepers. That's right. Your favorite host, Nick Summerall, is back. And with me today are my co-hosts, Julian and Adam.
Hey.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, so much.
So much, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I got baby. Watching the baby.
You got baby.
You got baby.
I got it.
All right. I got milk.
Whoa, sounds like a match made in heaven.
Yeah, the baby and the milk. You're good to go. Nobody's gonna listen to this, man.
Oh.
That's in case you guys don't know, Adam is our producer and kind of the guy who started this whole thing. So that's how confident he is in his product. Well, this is going to be more of a very fun episode. Don't know if you'll learn a lot, but it'll be fun, and we'll try to educate you guys on some things as well. Get that in there. But for today's show, guys, we got a pretty good one. I'll start with a quick question in just a moment. After that, we'll run through some hot topics. I mean, we just gave you a show recently, so not too much in the news, but just a few things. And then we're going to continue on with the wide receivers. We're going to be talking from wide receiver 13 to 24 on our rankings. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of this show, I just want to remind you guys about the SleeperWire Pro-Am League. That's right. That's our league that has us, the Fantasy Footballers, Fantasy Life app, Clock Dodgers podcast, SleeperBot. It's jam-packed full of special guests, right, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Neil, Andy, Charlie, Nan, all these guys out there, you guys all know. I know you listen to the show, so I'm calling you out. Let everybody know about this because you guys are helping us promote it and you're helping us for the good cause that we're doing, trying to help Rob. In the end, yeah, we got a great set of guys. I mean, everybody he said, if you win, you've beaten everybody you listen to. I doubt you will, but you could say that.
Yes, we are very competitive here, so we're going to try our damnedest to not let you win. But speaking of you guys get to be part of this league. That's right. We have 4 entries open still. And as Adam mentioned, our dear friend Rob, that's why we are doing this. Not just for the love of fantasy football, but for Rob. And for those of you who are new to the show, Rob is a dear friend of ours who has unfortunately been struck with chronic Lyme disease. It's a very serious disease. Please do your research if you don't know much about it. But we are trying to help him get the treatment he needs. And the way you can go show your support is GoFundMe.com/RobJR. Now, you go to that site. Now, how can you be part of the league by going there? Well, it's really simple. You just go there. You donate at least $5. That's right, just $5. And it gives you a raffle ticket, a chance to be a part of a great league. And not to mention, too, you are helping for a great cause. So, guys, be a part of it. Every $5 gives you 1 raffle ticket, a chance to be in the league. It's not a guarantee, but listen, you will have a shot. We promise you. We're going to make it fair. And in your donation, you just make sure you leave your name and your email address so we have a way to contact you to let you know if you are in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's going to be prizes throughout and a big prize at the end for the winner. So it's not as if you're not going to get anything out of your $5 donation. It goes to a good cause, helps Rob, and you get shit.
You get shit.
I love Adam on this show already.
Yeah, you see, we always have a jumbled up of different hosts. That's because we have so many and we just have some rotating schedules. Listen, guys, we're probably more like you than you even realize. We are just average guys who have jobs outside of this, so sometimes our schedules get a little hectic. So we're not always here, the same hosts every week that you may be used to with other shows who do have that. And enjoy the ride, and let's get into the show, guys. Let me start you guys off with the quick question, okay? how do you guys identify an overhyped player in your draft? Julian, let's start with you on this one.
Overhyped. I mean, I guess an example can be Ezekiel Elliott, but I don't know. At the same time, that could be a bad example because he is
Okay, Hoos.
I know, again, right? It's because it's not here. He's like vicariously living through me. It's not good. So, but I'm gonna say that Ezekiel can be a player that is overhyped without proven. Without proven in the NFL, we don't know how he will play in his first rookie season. Then again, he has everything set up for him, but we have to see it. He has to prove it to us. But let's see. I'm trying to think of another overhyped player that is not a rookie though. Let's see.
Well, let's just talk about what you're talking about here, though. You're right. Ezekiel Elliott is a perfect example. He's a rookie, and a lot of times rookies do get overhyped. We can look at last year. We thought Melvin Gordon coming into last season was going to be was going to be a top running back to have, going to have great stats. Yes, he got injured, but at the same time, he didn't get injured till late in the season and recorded 0 touchdowns. So that's one example of somebody who got overhyped that busted for you. Another guy who was an example last year was Frank Gore. And yes, he did have a decent season, but a lot of people expected him to play even better than what he got last season. And that's a situation that's not a bust, but it's kind of a letdown because he did get overhyped.
I don't know if he was overhyped though. Like they were still saying he was old last year too.
There were the reports that he was old, but there were also the reports that were saying, "Oh, Frank Gore, he's going to the Colts, a high-powered offense. You got to get him." And I thought he was going a bit higher than he probably should have, is what I'm saying. And that's an example for you, though. He's not a guy that, yes, is like Ezekiel Elliott this season, who everybody has him going in the first round. As a top 5 running back. That's very overhyped. So,
Sure.
but what about you, Adam? What do you think helps you to identify these overhyped players?
So here's what I think about overhyped players. I think that the reason players get overhyped is because they have one great season. And then all of a sudden the next season becomes this, they're going to do the same thing. But if you, not to geek out too much, but there's this practice called a regression to the mean. And what it means is if you have an extreme statistic on one end in one experiment, most likely in the next experiment, that extreme statistic will come back to the mean, the average. And I think what you see is somebody like Jordan Matthews, who got overhyped, or Amir Abdullah, who got overhyped. And you see these. Go ahead.
Keep them coming.
Well, you see them and they have these one great years, and then people expect them to do the same. I think if you're expecting a player to do better than the average this year based on only 1 year's data, you're going to find yourself disappointed.
So do you think, Adam, that there's a guy like you mentioned a couple names. You mentioned Jordan Matthews and you mentioned Amir Abdullah, and I mean Amir Abdullah was a rookie, so we'll throw him out. So let's look at a guy like Jordan Matthews, a guy who did very well his first year. Second year comes around, and last season he fell short of what he did the first season, and as you put it, he came down to the mean, the average, and that's what he was. Is there a guy like that you can think of that could go back to being above average, that you thought maybe maybe they just had kind of a down season? Do you think like a Jordan Matthews? Do you think we'll use him as an example?
Jordan Matthews is a perfect example. Yeah,
I have a hard time believing in Jordan Matthews personally, because I just don't think the skill was there. I just don't think it's there. But this is a personal thing. He was on my team. He let me down. And he's one of those players that every week I put in with the potential, because I knew he had the potential to do something, and every week he let me down. So it's hard to gauge. I think somebody more like Demaryius Thomas is the example, right, of what you have. I think he will I think he had a down season because of Peyton, and I think he had an up season because of Peyton. I think he's going to be perfectly average this season, and a good wide receiver 1 if you got him, and a great wide receiver 2 if you can get him.
Yeah, I think the same. Jordan Matthews, like last offseason, and just like this offseason, he's getting a little talked about. The new head coach, new potentially a new quarterback. Supposed to be Sam Bradford, continuing to be the quarterback. He's again going to get more touches as he should, but I think he has problems. He has some problems catching the ball and just being consistent all the time. So it's kind of he's hard to trust. Like Adam, he was on my team too last year. But
like I think a good example this season, and I don't mean to cut you off, but it is DeAndre Hopkins. Right? Look at what a stellar season he had last season. He will come back, in my opinion, and in statisticians' opinions, he will come back to the mean.
I disagree with you.
Well, we I don't want to do this yet. I can wait. I can wait a month.
Well, I think DeAndre is elite, but I was going to bring up players like Eric Ebron, who was overhyped, I think, last year, and came to a mean. But I think he can be more deserving to reach that this year with Calvin not being there for the Lions. I think he'll be one of their best red zone targets. And I think would you say Kobe Fleener? Well, I guess these guys would be sleepers.
Yeah.
But now we're getting more into sleeper territory, not overhyped. I mean, but then again, I took the question out of overhyped and talked into speculation. So, but let's end this topic here and let's start to jump into some of the hot topics that we have for you guys tonight.
Football starts here. Going deep. Finds the open seam. Off to the races he goes. Slicing to the end.
There was a report from Ian Rappaport earlier today. Bill's staff is outspoken on how hard LaShawn McCoy worked in the offseason. One coach told me he looks 5 years younger. They expect a huge year. So, guys, I want to talk about that. Now, LaShawn McCoy had a good season last season. And it's safe to say LaShawn McCoy has just about every year been a top 10 running back, even with the Eagles. So, what are your expectations for him this season, Adam?
It's tough to know for sure. I'd put him over 1,000, 6 touchdowns by the end of the season.
Okay. How about you, Julian?
Yeah, no, I think he's going to be getting a bulk of the touches, given that he's healthy, of course. If he can withstand 16 games, he will definitely be top 10 running back easily. That team likes to run the ball. I think collectively as a team, I think they were top 3 rushing, or top 3 or top 4 rushing for the season. So, and given with Carlos's injury right now, which probably is minor anyway, but I can still see McCoy getting at least 200 carries if he's healthy.
I could see that too. I could see him getting a 200+ carry season this year, and yeah, I mean he's coming in looking good, and coaches are high on him, and he's going to be the starter. I don't see why he wouldn't be, but for me personally, and you can call this a gut feeling, but I've never been on the LaShawn McCoy bandwagon. For me, his play style, I'm not a fan of. He just does too much of the dancing around out there.
A little wild.
Yeah, and he just dances around on the field too much. He's not really a kind of a north-south type of runner. He just kind of goes east to west, and I'm not a fan. I don't trust that type of style. Usually doesn't get a lot of yards per carry, in my opinion, at least. So that's but for me, I probably won't have LaShawn McCoy on my teams.
Yeah,
it probably won't happen.
I might not have him on my team either. But something that you can take away from that offense is that the opportunities are always going to be there. They're going to keep feeding him the ball. So for those that do grab him, don't shy away if he's available for you right there.
Hey, can I ask you guys some would you rather on LaShawn McCoy?
Sure.
Awesome. Would you rather C.J. Anderson, LaShawn McCoy?
LaShawn McCoy.
LaShawn McCoy.
Hands down.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was a huge part of the bandwagon last season for C.J. Anderson, and that blew up in my face. However, I do think that the situation has changed a bit in Denver from last season. I also do have a suspicion that maybe the ankle injury he was suffering from last season in the beginning did hinder his play. So I do think that this will be a bounce back year for CJ Anderson. However, I think that I'm in more of okay, you let me down last year. Prove it back to me again.
Yeah.
And that's my feeling with CJ Anderson. So I'd go LaShawn McCoy.
And there's a lot of players like that. Like we said, we talked about Jordan Matthews, CJ Anderson, Jeremy Hill, just like some guys that just disappoint you. But like some guys one of these guys are gonna come back like Doug Martin did last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of these guys.
Hopefully it doesn't take 2 years.
Yeah.
Like it did Doug Martin.
Yeah, right. I forgot where I was getting to. Oh, who was the other player that LaShawn and CJ. Oh, and I was gonna say CJ. So I was gonna say CJ.
Get this boy some pizza.
Like the only reason, yeah, I'm starving, and I'm thinking about food. I got pizza delivery coming soon. Anyway, so what I was gonna say about CJ is that they're, with the quarterback change right now, they're not gonna be as pass happy this year and for the years to come, unless Paxton.
Especially with Mark Sanchez.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
See, I think I would take a chance on C.J. Anderson this year over LaShawn.
I wouldn't be mad at you. It just depends what round you're doing it, I guess.
Well, okay. What about this? This is.
I think. Well, let me just one last point though.
Yeah.
I think that LaShawn McCoy is a clear cut RB1, and I don't see CJ Anderson as an RB1.
No. RB2.
My thing. And I don't mean RB1 is in like LaShawn McCoy is top 5, but he's easily top 10.
He's like
the
low
RB1.
end.
Yeah, he's low end, like 9, 10.
Yeah.
But he's top 10. CJ Anderson is top 20 at best.
Huh. So wait, who's the other person with CJ Anderson? It's not Monte Ball anymore. What's that guy's name?
Ronnie Hillman.
Ronnie Hillman. You think Ronnie Hillman is going to get more carries this season than, or going to be?
No, my concern is that they're going to be sharing the workload as opposed to LaShawn McCoy, who, yes, Carlos Williams came in last year and did get some goal line touches and all that. However, that doesn't with Carlos Williams' situation up in the air at the moment, with being the suspensions and all that. I still think LaShawn McCoy is going to get the bulk of the carries as opposed to CJ Anderson getting a bulk of the carries there. Now, we could be talking in a few months, and I'll be surprised, and CJ Anderson has better stats than LaShawn McCoy. That could be a thing, but I don't see it right now.
Yeah, I think bad quarterbacks or not great quarterbacks make good running backs. So I think Sanchez is not a great quarterback, and I think that makes CJ a better running back.
But it allows the defenses to load the box up so that they just,
that's true. Yeah.
That's the other problem is then you got the defense focused on the run game and not really as concerned with the passing game.
But you're also handing off a lot more, though.
You are, but how many points are you going to get for -1 yards?
Okay.
So who's another would you rather?
All right, this is specifically for you. What do you think, Matt Forte or LaShawn McCoy?
Wow, personally, you're asking the wrong guy. Julian. Julian's got Matt Forte with the Jets.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I can speak a little more objectively here because this is the first time I have Matt Forte on my team, but LaShawn McCoy or Matt Forte. I think Matt Forte right now, just because at least it's almost a guarantee he'll at least play 16 games.
Not to mention, too, the offense for the Jets right now looks better than the Bears.
Oh, yeah. That as well, man. Especially with Boots Sunday.
You got to be over the moon, man, to get Fitz back. No doubt about it. That guy.
Dude, nobody wanted to see Gino behind center, man. Nobody.
You know what? I'll be honest with you guys. I really hope that Gino still starts.
I bet.
That would be
Why?
hilarious.
No,
Because it would just be so funny. This whole story.
would
Oh,
be
Ryan
so
Fitzpatrick got to get signed. And they sign him, and Gino's the starter.
it would make no freaking sense.
And it would never happen.
Well,
Would
but it's the
never
Jets.
happen.
When
It
does
would
it
be a
make
riot.
sense?
It'd
When
be a
does it make
riot.
sense? When does it make sense with the Jets?
When
Ever since we got rid of Rex Ryan. All right.
But I think it's tough, though, honestly, between Matt Forte and LaShawn McCoy, because then you think about, well, Ryan Fitzpatrick, though, will spread the ball out to Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall. So who knows what the workload will be like, but I don't know. I mean, and Todd Bowles, I don't know how into making blowout games is he. Like, does he want to make the score 35, 40, 45? Like, does he want to get those type of scores on the scoreboard?
Offensively, last year the Jets were pretty good. At least offensively, I think we were averaging like almost 30 points a game.
I agree, though. I think Matt Forte.
And Jets are fun to watch. Jets are fun to watch.
Thanks. Thank you.
Hey, no, I mean, you're not going to win. It's not as though you're the Broncos.
It's like, oh, they're
It's
trying.
really fun. I mean,
You were cool at first.
you know, when I was a kid, I really liked Sesame Street, and eventually I outgrew it. The Jets are fun to watch.
I always look at them and go, oh, they're trying.
Wow. You know what?
We just lost our whole Jet demographic.
Right,
They're
right, for real.
No,
Well-
Julian will bring him back. He goes, no, come on. I'll start the new Jets podcast.
Come over to my side.
Come over to the dating corner. I got you.
Come over to the green side.
Yeah, the dating corner. Come on. I'll take it. Any other would you rathers, Adam?
I think those are good, man.
Okay. All right. Last bit of news for us to cover before we could jump into the wide receiver conversation that we have for you guys tonight. Is Stevie Johnson. He's suffering a meniscus injury. No report yet on what his status will be for the season. Something to keep an eye on. But I'll be honest with you. With the signing of Travis Benjamin this season, Keenan Allen coming back, being healthy, Stevie Johnson to me was no more than a wide receiver 3 on the depth chart, at least. Not maybe for fantasy purposes a wide receiver 3, but on the depth chart, he was no more than the 3rd receiver on that team. So I don't think this is in any way a groundbreaking impact to any fantasy football player out there. So it's just something to report and keep an eye on.
He's really more relevant for PPR leagues.
Yeah, really
if
deep
all,
leagues.
If at all, you know. Yeah, I got to be at least deep 12.
Yeah, for sure.
12 or more teams.
I mean, if that's the case, and you're probably, even in those deep leagues, going to end up picking him up off waivers eventually at some point because he's there. But that's really what he's used for.
Exactly. All right, guys. So our last show covered wide receivers 4 through 12 because the show before that we had talked about the top 3 receivers. So tonight we're going to bring to you the 13 through 24, or see how far we go with that, because we got a lot of chatty people here.
Okay.
It's true.
So let's go to our rankings. So these are standard rankings, might I add. So for sure for PPR there would be different rankings here, but for our number 13 wide receiver, we have a guy we were just talking about earlier in the show, Demaryius Thomas. Now, Demaryius Thomas, before last season, had been a top 10 no-brainer elite wide receiver. His numbers dropped down quite drastically last season, and to me just looked off, but that was also because the whole offense looked pretty off in Denver. It's surprising that defense could carry them to a championship. So I want to get your guys' opinion. Now, Adam, you did mention something about Demaryius Thomas. You see good things for him in the future. Why don't you elaborate a little bit on that?
I'm a Denver fan, so I mean it's hard for me to not see good things in the future for Demaryius Thomas. I mean you don't chance into the kind of seasons that he's had, and seasons, right? He is an elite wide receiver. I think he's going to Again, I think he's fine as a wide receiver 1 if you have to take him there. I'd much rather prefer him as a wide receiver 2. And at this point, you can get him as a wide receiver 2. If you're going wide receiver, and you end up with Odell Beckham Jr. and Demaryius Thomas, you're stacked, man. You're stacked, in my opinion. I think that he will be just fine. You got Emmanuel Sanders and you got Demaryius Thomas, and those are the two.
Let me ask you. Would you rather Demaryius Thomas or Brandon Marshall?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably Brandon Marshall. I think real, tangible competition breeds out the best, and I think when you're about to lose a Porsche, you bring your A game.
Seriously, I think that's real ballsy, but like I like the confidence in that gamble that he made.
My favorite was it's against Antonio Brown, right? And Antonio Brown replies, "Yeah, I'll take on this bet. Just don't internet it." And I've never heard the word internet used as a verb.
As a verb.
Yeah. So I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. All right, you're bringing out a whole new set of language for this bet."
But I agree also with Brandon Marshall over Demaryius Thomas too. I think that with Ryan Fitzpatrick back, the chemistry they had last season, the numbers that Brandon Marshall attained last season was just incredible. I don't think that's going to be the same this season, but I still see somewhat in about 10 touchdowns for this season for Brandon Marshall. I can see that. But Demaryius Thomas, for me, he's one of those guys that this season, he's on there like C.J. Anderson was for me, like I just mentioned before. He's one of those guys that with Mark Sanchez starting the season, I don't know if I can trust Demaryius Thomas. But it'll be interesting to see where he ends up falling in most of my draft and seeing where I might be able to get him. If I can get him, 4th, 5th round, I mean, you bet your ass I'm taking him.
Yeah, you can. He's going. I think he's averaging. I think third round.
Yeah, which isn't a bad area for me, but I would be safer with the 4th or 5th round for me personally.
Well, what about Amari Cooper or Demaryius Thomas?
Amari Cooper or Demaryius Thomas? That's a good question. You're asking me, so I'm going to say Demaryius Thomas. I'm going to say Demaryius Thomas. I think the skill is more there. Amari Cooper, this is his 2nd season. Am I right about this?
Yep.
So I think he's quality, but their quarterback is also young. Amari Cooper is also young. It's the Raiders. I live in the Bay Area, and the fans are great, but the team not so much. They need a few more years.
For me, I'm gonna go. I think I just like the quarterback better in Oakland.
It's tough, right? Yeah,
I like the quarterback better in Oakland. I think Derek Carr. Yeah. Yep. I think Derek Carr has shown that he's reaching his potential after these last couple of years, especially last season. And I think Amari Cooper is that number 1 threat there. So for me, I would take Amari Cooper over Demaryius Thomas. But that's not how we have it in our rankings.
Right. Amari does have, I think he has just that natural talent, and the quarterback is better in Oakland as well. So I think I probably would go Cooper, but it's close though.
But I could change my mind.
All right, well, here, let's get into the 14th wide receiver on our standard rankings. That's Brandon Cooks. Now, I like Brandon Cooks. I thought he bounced back from what was the first half of the season was a little bit low in production, but it started to steadily increase, and it turned out he turned out to be a pretty good wide receiver in the end. For me, the one thing that concerns me is Coby Fleener. I think he's going to come in and prove to be in a pivotal role, maybe as a 1A, 1B type of role with Brandon Cooks. But what about you guys? Julian, I heard you say me too.
Yeah, no, I think Coby Fleener is going to have somewhat of a breakout season. I mean, I know he signed a 5-year contract. They wanted a talented tight end. They got him. I think he's going to be heavily targeted in the red zone. And just like when we saw it with Jimmy Graham, I think they're going to try to at least try to game plan as if it was Jimmy. It's not Jimmy Graham. We all know that, but they're at least going to try. I think they're going to try to game plan it like he is.
Jimmy Graham isn't even Jimmy Graham anymore.
You're right.
Well, that is very true. But Adam, what are your thoughts on Brandon Cooks for this season?
I like Brandon Cooks as well. I mean over 1,000 yards I think he gets and plenty of TDs. My concern with Brandon Cooks is his ability to put up just a stinker. He has several where it's in the 20s and 30s. I get concerned when I have those players because every single one of your players, you have an expectation, and when one of those players bones you, the rest do too. So.
Very interesting terminology there, Adam.
Well, I was inspired by Julian's dating corner.
He said, Adam, you said in the 20s and 30s. What do you mean?
I mean, okay, 20 yards, 30 yards. He had plenty of games where he only had 22 yards, 35 yards.
Gotcha. I was gonna say 20 or 30 points. Adam.
Well, he's got to do better than 20 or 30 points.
All right, so on to the next receiver, guys. Number 15 is Sammy Watkins. For me, personally, I mean, because these rankings are from our ranker. It's for SleeperWire. He generally does his own, does the rankings for us as a whole. But even myself, I kind of think this is high. I could see why, because when he's on the field, he is that number one wide receiver threat. And he does play well. I mean, last season in 13 games, he had 60 catches for over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. So that is a really good season, and that's very productive and somebody you'd want on your team for sure. However, the injury bug does not seem to be scared of him. What about you guys? What are your thoughts on Sammy Watkins? Adam, let's go to you on this one.
All right, so this is interesting. If you look at Sammy Watkins' consensus ranking, it is 15 almost across the board. Yahoo has him at 16, ESPN has him at 11, CBS has him at 9. So he only gets better with time, apparently. Now, is this a player that's overhyped? I don't know. I think possibly a little too much based on what he did last season, and what he did last season was good in a few games, but not great in a lot.
What about you, Julian?
Yeah, no, I mean it's all on paper. Really, you can see the inconsistency. There's only a couple of games where he really impressed the crap out of everybody. He is talented. I think he's rightfully where he's supposed to be as far as rankings go. He's a top 20 player.
Great, that's good.
We're happy you approve.
No problem. Just here to give what the people want. Sammy Watkins is he's a good guy.
Given he stays healthy, he can have a good year. He can have a top 12 year.
Yep.
Do you think he'll have a top 12 year?
That's if he stays healthy, all 16 games.
I don't think so. I don't think he'll be in the top 12. But where he's at, I mean, okay. I'd probably take Amari Cooper over him. Ranking.
It's a good thing that you brought up Amari Cooper, Adam, because because he actually is number 16 on our list, and I wanted to mention something very interesting. So I was looking over some stats, and I saw Amari Cooper's stats from last season, which were 72 catches, 1,070 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That was last year. Okay, so I had Sammy Watkins' stats up on here, and 2014 was his rookie year. He played all 16 games. He had 65 catches, 982 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So they were generally on par with each other for their rookie years. Of course, 2 different teams, so that has to be taken into consideration, of course. But very similar years, with the edge slightly given to Amari Cooper. So do you guys think that Amari Cooper could get similar stats to what Sammy Watkins got this year, or do you think he should exceed those stats? And Julian, why don't we start with you on that one?
I think Amari could exceed Watkins this season. Again, it's his second year. He proved what he can do last year with even with a rookie quarterback. But with both of them improving, I think he's definitely more consistent than Watkins. I'll say that. So I think he can definitely exceed Watkins of what Watkins did last year. Right. Let's see. Watkins put up 9 touchdowns. I would give equal or over. I can see Cooper having 9 or more touchdowns.
I agree with that.
I'll say Amari Cooper scores 9 touchdowns. I don't think more, but I certainly don't think less.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's 9, and I think the stats are similar to Sammy Watkins from this season. The only thing I'll say is that I think he plays 15 games, and I think he gets at least 1,200, maybe 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns. I think that's what he finishes with on the board. I think that's very good for a second year. Yeah, I think that's definitely top 15 numbers. I think I could see him getting himself in the top 15 with numbers like that. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think that Amari Cooper is a guy that, see, if I had a choice between Demaryius Thomas or Amari Cooper, I'm taking Amari Cooper. Just because I feel more comfortable with where he's at per our conversation before, Julian. Yes. So that's a guy I'm looking forward to trying to get on my teams as a number 2 receiver. Maybe if I'm lucky and go heavy receiver in the beginning of the draft, maybe I get him as my 3rd or like as my flex. That would be the perfect case scenario. But I digress. T.Y. Hilton is our 17th ranked wide receiver. Now, T.Y. Hilton suffered a bit because of Andrew Luck not playing last season, but typically that's Luck's go-to guy. Been a top 12, top 15 wide receiver option for most of his career. So, Adam, with Andrew Luck looking like he's going to come into the season healthy and ready to go, are you still going to be somewhat hesitant maybe to get T.Y. Hilton on your team, or are you just gung-ho to get him?
I am all for it. I am all in on T.Y. Hilton, man. I think he's going to do great. I think Andrew Luck gets drafted number 1 overall in the draft that he was drafted in because he's such a great quarterback, and T.Y. Hilton is going to be the recipient of him being the star that he is. I mean, there's no reason not to believe in Luck's talent, and if you believe in Luck, then you have to believe that T.Y. Hilton is going to produce. I see a big year for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they go hand in hand. You'd have to think that Luck is gonna overcome last season's droughts and have a breakout season.
Right. I mean, you look at the past 3 years for T.Y. Hilton. He's had 80 plus catches in 2013 and 2014, dropped to 69 catches. So, of course, we're looking at standard rankings. So, but in PPR, I'd say T.Y. Hilton gets most of his value because he is that possession receiver. He's a guy that Luck will look to throw to more. Generally has gotten around between 5 and 7 touchdowns each season. Last season was 5 touchdowns. So, in terms of touchdowns, I want to say he'll get back to 7, and I'll say he also gets back to 80 plus catches for the season. What about you guys? You agree?
Yeah, I see no reason to disagree with that. Like I said, I'm high on T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, with Luck coming back strong, I can definitely see 7 touchdowns or more from T.Y. But all right, T.Y. or Demaryius Thomas?
You're loving the Demaryius Thomas question.
Demaryius is such a shaky.
No, he's not. He's not.
All right. Maybe not as shaky as I think I would pick Demaryius if I had to choose either Demaryius or T.Y. I don't know. Oh, that's still tough.
See, that's tough. That's like choosing, boobs or ass. They're both a winner, dude. They're both a winner. If you get one, that's good. If you get the other one, that's good.
I don't know though. One doesn't fart in your face. So I'm just saying.
Jesus, what kind of relationship are you in?
We know what
Julian was telling me about his date. It's like relaying information.
You know what type of guy Nick is now.
Yeah, dude.
Julian, we know what type of guy you are. You told me about it. Don't play this off like, oh, Nick, look at you.
I don't know if I want to hear any more of this story. I think we're good.
Anyway, how about we move on to the next receiver?
Julian Edelman, right? That's who you're going to?
That's who I was going to.
Right here in front of me.
Yep, Julian Edelman. That's right. So he's interesting because we know, of course, Tom Brady and the Deflategate has finally, for once and for all, been settled, and he will accept the 4-game suspension. So Julian Edelman will be interesting because that's been Tom Brady's go-to guy. He will not be playing the first few games. How does it make you feel about Julian Edelman leading into the season, Julian? And I mean, he's a better PPR threat, but let's keep this in the standard context since we are talking about standard rankings here.
Yeah, he's averaging in the draft season. I think he's averaging to go in like the 4th or 5th round. I don't know if the value. I don't think I would draft him.
Mhm.
But again, I mean, when Tom Brady's there, that's gonna be his guy, and there's gonna be no doubts that he's gonna be getting the ball every game, at least 5+ catches a game. Like, again, but for the first, I think it's an easy sacrifice because it is only 4 games. That is a quarter, or that is a fraction of the season. So if he's there for you in the 5th round, definitely take him. But I don't think I would take him in the 4th round. I definitely wouldn't take him in the 4th round.
Okay, what about you, Adam?
So I saw this interesting question on Fantasy Life, one of the apps that we support and that we're on, and they were asking, would you be willing to take a Julian Edelman, a Josh Gordon, a Tom Brady in the first couple rounds and tank the first 4 games to know that you're going to have studs for the rest of the season?
Nope. I absolutely would not do that.
Why not?
Because first off, there is no guarantee in fantasy football, and not to mention Josh Gordon and guarantee. That's like an oxymoron. I mean, I think Josh Gordon could be good, but I didn't see him last year, and the year before that, he didn't come back to week 10, 11, and he didn't even do well. He looked like crap. So we're talking about over a year and a half of not playing football, and when we did see him last, he didn't look good. So aside from that one season that he was elite, you're telling me that Josh Gordon is going to be elite again? I doubt it. I have my high doubts about it, and it's a guy I will not draft unless he is sitting there as a wrapped present for me at the very end of the draft when I'm making my final selection.
Oh.
That will be it. I will not have Josh Gordon on my team because first off, we're talking about a guy who plays for the Cleveland Browns. Okay, show me somebody who's productive in fantasy on that team, aside from maybe Gary Barnidge, and that to me is still a bit of like a fluke to me. Yeah. Maybe he'll do well this season. I don't know, but Gary Barnidge is, and that's it.
Yep.
I definitely wouldn't do that. Maybe you could get Tom Brady and Julian Edelman, but that's still risky to me too. Because what happens if Julian Edelman gets hurt? And you can say that with you could say that too, but I'm just saying I don't like that strategy. I don't like purposely tanking the first few weeks to get.
So you don't think it's smarter to draft a player early if you know they're going to be out for 4 weeks and everybody else is not going to draft him? Like, I knew people last season, obviously, who drafted Tom Brady early, and then we found out that he wasn't going to miss as many games, and it became a steal. Or
I agree with one player.
Who did?
I agree.
Foster last season.
I agree with. Well, okay, like Julian Edelman isn't a guy who's out, so
I did that with Foster.
If you wanted to do, right, yeah, like if you wanted to do Tom Brady, grab him early, and you make sure you had Julian Edelman too, that's fine. I'm not opposed to that situation, but when you mentioned Tom Brady and Josh Gordon,
that was the question.
Yeah, I don't like 2 guys that are going to miss time.
The thing is, you can still. I mean, I guess it depends on your league, right? If there's more than one guy that loves Tom Brady, then yeah, you might have to slide in there a little early if you really want him that badly. But anyone can get him, I think, in 8th round, 9th round, 10th. Maybe I don't know. 10th might be too far, but anyone can get him in 8, 9 rounds.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so do you think with Tom Brady being out, this is my question overall. Julian Edelman is being drafted further than he should. If Tom Brady was in the first 4 games, where would Julian Edelman be drafted?
Well, Julian Edelman retains his value mostly in PPR leagues. So in PPR, he'd go much higher if Tom Brady were around.
Third round.
Yeah, third round would be Julian Edelman's value in PPR for sure. In standard, it's a bit different because he's not a guy who scores a tremendous amount of touchdowns. He gets a nice volume of yards. So for me, I would have him about where we have him, maybe a few spots higher. That's about it though. I wouldn't drastically change Julian Edelman's standard value. That's our stance on Julian Edelman. How about we move on to Jeremy Maclin? He's our 19th receiver. So Jeremy Macklin's another guy who I think falls under the same umbrella as a Julian Edelman. He's a PPR monster. But I do think that last season he showed that it doesn't matter if he's playing with the Eagles or the Chiefs, who don't usually know how to make a receiver work. They make one work because it's Jeremy Maclin. So I like Jeremy Maclin this season. He is a guy that I will target as like my flex if I can. If I miss out on getting Amari Cooper or somebody else, I will target Jeremy Maclin as my flex because I think he's a very productive flex, and I think he's going to have a great season. I think this is a deserving spot. I totally think he'll be a top 20 receiver. How about you, Julian?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt, definitely top 20. He could slide into the top 15, but who knows with if Jamal Charles stay healthy all season, we can't really rely on that. Jeremy Maclin he was also another overhyped player last year. He was also one of those overhyped players in the offseason last year because of what he did in Philadelphia. And I remember in the beginning there wasn't much action on his way, like towards his way in the beginning of the season. It wasn't until like the middle of the season where he started producing like a lot more, and I was happy that I had him. But other than that, if Jamal Charles stays healthy all season, he would probably just do about the same as he did last year. Maybe.
Okay. Maybe. Well, last season he had just for you to be aware of, he had 87 catches off of 1,088 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, for me, if Jamal Charles stays healthy, I could see Jeremy Maclin's touchdowns dropping to maybe 6.
Yeah,
maybe 6.
Yep.
And but I still see him getting 1,000 yards, and I still see him sustaining that 80+ catch zone.
He can probably still get about 90 catches. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for
sure.
How
about you, Adam? What are your thoughts on Jeremy Maclin this season?
Meh.
Wow, that's some crack analysis there, Adam. Thank you for your input, and I appreciate you being a part of the show.
Good. Ready to go to the next person?
Hey, Mac.
Wow. Hey.
Mac was a competitor, man. He's a competitor.
No, you're right. I think he has over 1,000 yards. I think he's good. I like him as a player. I think he's solid. I'd put him, 6th round, 5th round, somewhere in there. If you could pick him up and you need a good wide receiver 2 or 3, I think he's solid. I definitely, would make sure I have a couple other good wide receivers there before I pick him up, though.
Oh, well, for sure. Like I said, that's why I'd want to get Jeremy Maclin as my flex or wide receiver 3. I think that's a good spot for him. Even if you had to get him as your wide receiver 2, I mean, there's still a good amount of receivers left in the rankings here that I would be okay if I had to get him as my wide receiver 2, especially depending on my previous draft picks. Of course, what I had on my team with him. If I had Antonio Brown as my number 1 pick, and I got Jeremy Maclin as my number 2 receiver, and maybe grab a guy down here like a Doug Baldwin or an Emmanuel Sanders or even a Jordan Matthews or somebody like that, even as my flex, I'm not going to complain personally. I think that would be pretty good for Jeremy Maclin being a number 2 receiver.
Yeah, right now Macklin's going about the 5th round, so you would have to be, you at this point, if he's your number 2, like you would already have gotten a quarterback at this point. And obviously.
I might not have. I might not have gotten my quarterback. I like to wait late for quarterback. I usually grab my quarterback by 8th and 9th round.
Well, I'm just saying if he turns out to be your second wide receiver, it's either because you got a quarterback first or a tight end early.
Yeah.
That'd be the only way.
I agree.
Other than that, it should be your flex. Like he should turn out to be your flex if you do pick him up. Yeah, if you do pick him up. Yeah.
All right, guys. So last receiver, because we are starting to run out of time. And like I said, we came close to reaching 24. But we're going to get to 20 instead. And how fitting that we have Julian on the show to talk about another Jet. And that's Eric Decker.
Eric Deck.
Eric Deck. I guess that's what you guys call him now, huh? It's pretty stupid.
That's just what flowed off the tongue, Nick.
Yeah, I like it.
The deck is here. get ready to be installed.
Decker.
Get on deck. Let's keep this going.
Nah,
Make the puns.
get on the deck train. I say nah.
The deck train that was really
honestly,
stupid.
Honestly, Nick, shut your stupid
Suck
mouth.
it. Hey, suck a deck.
Hey, suck at the deck. Yes, there it is.
I like
There
that.
it is.
I like that.
Dude, that's a fantasy team name. Boom. Thank us, listeners.
Yep. Suck a
All right,
deck.
so
Boom.
what do I have
Trademark.
to say about Eric Decker? Obviously, the majority of the balls are gonna go over to Marshall. That's number one. But number two, I think people are gonna that's gonna go in Decker's favor, and because people are gonna be doubling Marshall all day. And I was watching or reading about camp for the Jets, and Decker had some deep balls from Fitz, and he was mentioning how he kind of wants to be involved in more deep balls. So you never know. He could. He's obviously he's not as fast as Deshaun Jackson. I'm not gonna say that, but he could have routes like Deshaun and maybe even some touchdowns like Deshaun, some long deep ball touchdowns. So look, they were the best tandem wide receivers last year.
Yeah, they were.
Wait, can I ask you a question, Julian?
Well,
Are you telling me that Eric Decker likes to be balls deep when you suck a dick?
he couldn't wait to say that. He couldn't wait. Now I don't know if he's saying that because of me or because maybe he has something against Decker. Maybe he likes Dex. I don't.
we know he likes farting in the face, but you know.
Yeah, Julian, we know that about you. All right. I mean, I listen. I just want to ask you guys this. So, okay, so I agree with your analysis that Eric Decker is still going to see a lot of work. I think that yes, Brandon Marshall will, will definitely take away from all the production. But then again, it worked so much better for Decker when Marshall came and when they played together, and they were such a good tandem. But now you got Matt Forte, who I think personally is a better running back than Chris Ivory was, and I think he's much better in the passing game than Chris Ivory was. Chris Ivory did well last season, but I think Matt Forte can do even better. So do you think that with Forte and Marshall being there together, do you think that cuts into Eric Decker's workload at all? And Adam, I want to ask you about that first.
All right, so I'm on deck. Let me tell you.
Suck a dick.
I like Eric Decker a lot, and not only because his wife is gorgeous and has a fantastic name. I think he is an elite receiver in his own right, man. I think you put him in a flex and you don't, unless he gets hurt, you leave him there the entire season. Last season, man, he was the perfect surprise, and I still think people just underestimate him. They look at him and they think you are ugly and we don't want you on our team. And they miss out. They miss out. And I'm telling you, he's a great flex player. I like him. I like him a lot. I think he will do even better this season than he did last season. I think, and last season he had 12 touchdowns. Remember, he was a touchdown machine. 1 touchdown every game. You could almost count on it for the last 5 weeks. He's a stud, man.
I agree. I think he definitely is a stud. I think he's a great flex option. I would be nervous if I had him as my wide receiver too, because yes, his numbers were great last season, but you even said it yourself in the show, Adam, that everybody eventually goes back to the mean.
Yeah, regress to the mean.
Right. So I don't think we can count on Decker getting 12 touchdowns again. But I certainly wouldn't say it's out of the realm of possibility for him to score somewhere along the lines of 8 touchdowns, maybe even 9, which is still great for a flex option, in my opinion. So he's definitely somebody I want to get. It just makes me nervous, so because there is some more firepower on that offense this season with Forte being brought in there. I just don't know what to expect because, like I said, I do think that Forte is a much better running back overall than Chris Ivory is. So I just wonder how that's going to work. But
I do wonder how that's going to work too.
Yeah,
a lot of those passes are going to be dumped off to him, and we can expect that. And it might cut some some time off of Decker's play. So
but it might open up more though for him because there's going to be covering.
I don't think it can ever hurt him. I don't think it can ever hurt.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt in a way that you're not going to want Eric Decker on your team.
Yeah,
right.
So, but All right, guys, that's it for 13 to 20. Because again, couldn't make it. We had 4 more receivers, but we couldn't make it. So maybe on the next show, I don't know. I think the next show, what's going on? Is the mailbag next show?
I think the next show is out Thursday, and yeah, it'll be the mailbag. We'll just get a bunch of questions.
Right. So we'll do the mailbag this Thursday.
SleeperBot.
That's right, and you'll have an all new set of hosts for this Thursday show because we will not be on it.
This is what happens when you have a dozen people in your crew, man. I mean, all over the nation. This is why we have the best analysts for you, because we're from all over, and we're not 1 or 2 people.
But remember, guys, if you listen to today's show, you listen to the A show. Get the B show on Thursday. No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. No, those guys are great. You want to listen to them. So listen for that, for the mailbag show. If you guys have any questions, I'm sure you can send them in through SleeperBot or even the Fantasy Life app. Adam, tell everybody out there where they can love us, where they can support us, and where they can find us.
All right, so we are everywhere that you need to be. We are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Periscope, we are on Snapchat, we are on SleeperBot, we are on Fantasy Life. If we're not there, then it's not important.
You want to give these people any Twitter handles?
No, we're good. Find us. No, you can find us. You can find
Suck a dick, people. That's it. We out.
Deck.
You can find the SleeperWire show on Twitter. You can find SleeperWire on Facebook. You can email us, sleeperwire@gmail.com. Certainly, I mean, anytime you're on SleeperBot or Fantasy Life, we're all over that.
And remember, guys, the SleeperWire Pro-Am League, GoFundMe.com/RobJR. That's how you be a part of it. Donate $5. Leave your name and your email address so we can contact you. And we hope that you get to be a part of this great league. And thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for being here. For Julian and Adam, I'm Nick Summerall saying so long, everybody. Good night. And suck a dick.
I'll drop in the
That should be the title of the show. For this episode.
Suck a deck. I think that's awesome. Are you gonna go have your pizza?
Later, Deck.
Later, Dex.